Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is the Broadcom Workgroup in Virtual Room 5, and this is session 5AA, Collaborate Better with Eclipse Che, the Kubernetes-native IDE for dev teams. Please note this session is being recorded and will be available via Vimeo. All registered attendees will receive an email with a link after the end of the conference. My name is Phil Howard-Knight, and I will be chairing this session for you. If you have any questions for the presenters, please can you submit them via the Zoom chat window using the message to everyone facility, and I will run through them with the presenters at the end of the session. If you have any specific points or questions about the session or logistics, please address them directly to me via the host only option. Now, please do provide feedback about the session at the end. This helps enormously with our conference planning. Ideally, you could do this straight after the end of the session. It can be accessed either from links on the abstract page or your BYOA agenda. There's a link at the bottom of each agenda item, or by scanning the QR code on the last page of the presentation. At one point, please note that the best answer for question 1 is 5 rather than 9, where it asks about the length of the session. It's 9 for all the other questions. Note also that a copy of the presentation will be available for download via the conference website. So now I'll hand over to our speaker, Dejan Milinkovic, and who will introduce himself and his co-speaker, Lukas Sima. Dejan, over to you.
Thank you, Phil. So, hi all, welcome to the Share session. My name is Dejan Milinkovic, and together with my colleague, Lukas Sima, we will take you into the world of the IDEs for a new generation of the mainframe application users. Both of us are working in the Broadcom mainframe division in a product management for a new developers experience in our DevOps area. So that was a little bit for our introduction. I was expecting that my colleague Lukas will say hi, because that was planned on the dry run. Yeah, okay. But we cannot hear you, Lukas. Okay.
Okay, I tried to unmute, but apparently it was not possible to do it myself. So yeah, welcome everybody. Good morning. Thanks, Dan, for introduction.
Okay, so we have our microphones working. So as everything these days, also the mainframe world is changing. New generation of mainframe users are joining the companies to drive the business for next years and maybe the decades. What we saw in our own experience was that this new generation of developers is not interested really in the tools that me or my experienced colleagues were using. And they wanted to use the latest technology stuff, something they were using in their universities or in their previous jobs. And what was even more interesting was that the majority of the open source tools are being more and more used for different business tasks. A lot of companies today are still looking for speeding up of onboarding of the new developers to different projects. Making sure that effectiveness and cost of the maintenance is not increasing or taking more of the developer's time, while still everything needs to fit to the strict security rules and not violating any exposures of breaches with the business data. Collaboration within the team and ability to share the code, environment, and the workspace is becoming more important for the efficiency and performance of the developers teams. When looking at the current state of the application development, there is an ISPF. There has always been ISPF, and it will be also in the future ISPF. And there are the people, and there will be the people who are so super efficient within the ISPF that anything else for them, it will be probably counterproductive. But there are also a lot of people who are using the IDEs that are based on the Eclipse Few years back, these IDEs were considered as the modern IDEs, but due to the current technological evolution and things what are happening on the marketplace, those IDEs are becoming primitive from the today's technological standards. So what's the future of the application or in the application development? We are seeing two main trends. One is the Visual Studio Code, which is currently the most popular IDE according to the Stack Overflow's researches. And yes, it's a rich client IDE, but it's a lightweight. It's easy to manage. It's easy to learn from the application development perspective. From an enterprise perspective, to eliminate the need of the maintenance of the rich IDEs, browser-based IDEs trend is actually picking up. Advantage is not only it's not only the centralized management, but also the rapid onboarding of the new developers into the project. And what's the best part of that is that it has the same feel and look as the most popular IDE in these days, means the Visual Studio Code. So the learning curve for the adoption is almost zero. And from our, I mean now Broadcom perspective, we are extending these IDEs so users can work with them to maintain and build the mainframe application with their choice of the preferred IDE. So what is an Eclipse Share? First, what we need to say is that Eclipse Share doesn't have anything to do with the Eclipse. The only reason why it has an Eclipse in the name is that it was founded by the Eclipse community, but it's not based on Eclipse at all. It's a Kubernetes-native IDE which you can connect from the browser. It's supporting all of the different languages, tools, builders, and frameworks. It supports multi-user team development platforms. It comes with the SDK, which is allowing to integrate the other tools or the frameworks within the share. We have our own share running either on the Linux machines or in the cloud, or it can be running on the premise or as a hybrid model of the application development. It's really open for the extensibility. Using the public APIs, you can literally extend almost everything there. An Eclipse Share goal is to make it easy and safe for anyone to contribute to the project, even without any knowledge of the container or of the Kubernetes. So in reality, it looks like that your administrator who is responsible for different tooling or for Kubernetes is deploying the Eclipse Share into the Docker environment. And Share is being deployed with built-in security. After the deployment, only one thing what the administrator do is that he provides a link to the Share server. The developer, who is on the left side of this diagram, is taking this link and opening it in the browser. And there is nothing what the developer needs to do. He just opened the link and build the workspace from the Share workspace, from the Share server. And he can build this workspace from the predefined ones, what are already there within the Share, or he can customize it and build the one what he really needs for his specific needs. Share is one of the latest technology edges and have a huge potential for the future. Eclipse Share provides a default web ID to be used with the developer workspaces. This ID is completely decoupled. You can bring your own IDE to the Eclipse Share and build it from Eclipse Che or use any other different web IDE. Everything will be working within the Eclipse Share. So it's really open for extending the IDEs what are there. Support of language server protocol and debugger adapter protocol is standard for the latest tech stack. So when I mean language server protocol and debugger protocol, that's something what I will be explaining on the next slide. So I will just skip for this now. Share, as we mentioned, Share is built with the same or similar experience as the VS Code. So majority of the VS Code extensions will be also working within the Share. Using the customized YAML files, you can create any developer workspace and environment you really need for your specific project tasks. So if you're a developer, it means that when you are working into the Share, you have the same similar user experiences in Visual Studio Code. You can leverage the components that are supporting the LSP and DAP protocols. And as a user, you don't have anything to install and configure. You just type an URL of the server and you can go. Sharing of the workspaces allows also to remove inconsistencies between the developers' environments. So that means that the situation when the developers is saying it's working on my machine, but I'm not sure why it's not working on his machine, it's something what really in this environment cannot happen. In traditional approach, it's hard to share and secure your development environment, but to make it possible, Che is bringing a new way of coding, and it's getting the inspiration from infrastructure as a code. While in traditional approach, it's hard to share the runtimes or operation system. In Eclipse Share is everything hosted in the Kubernetes cluster, so it's really not big deal to share the runtime also with your colleagues or with the different teams. We believe that the modern tooling should be available and attractive for developers, no matter of platform. Goal we want to achieve is to provide all of the benefits of the modern tooling to not only attract the new developers, but also to speed up and improve their performance when they are working with the mainframe applications. Share is perfect for onboarding of the new people on the project, as there is a zero time for setting up of the environment. As mentioned several times, you just type an URL and you are ready to go. As a cloud solution, Share is helping to reduce inconsistencies between versions of software tooling that are being used. Today's standards as language server protocol and debugger adapter protocol allows vendors or yourself only to create a component only once, and it can be used probably sometimes with small modifications in all of the IDEs that are supporting the LSP and DAP protocols. Before it was like that debugging support in the development tools was provided for each language and debugger separately. While now with the DAP, you just create a debug adapter and you can connect this debug adapter via debugger adapter protocol and with the IDE what is supporting the debug adapter, and you can debug your application. Share can be accessed from anywhere. You just type an URL and you can go. You don't need really any specific machine for it, so you can easily even work from home and not carry up your laptop back home and office. And now in these days, when COVID is pushing us, to stay more at home, it's a perfect solution, for developers. Share's development tooling can be used for any of the projects, no matter of platform. Common components you build for one IDE, let's say Visual Studio Code in this case, are valid and are working also in Eclipse Share or vice versa. If you build something for Eclipse Share, it will be also working for Visual Studio Code. And now also we hear that Google provided their Google Shell editor, what is also based on TEAS. So we believe that also these components will be also working in the Google Cloud IDE. Language extensions, what are following the language server protocol standards for COBOL, high-level assembler, JCL, and REX. Accessing of ZOS resources with the ZOE Explorer or debugging the mainframe COBOL applications will be working either in one IDE or the second IDE. So it means that you can use the components in IDE of your choice. It's not something what will be pushing you to use just this one. Yeah. So what Broadcom is providing is something what we call Code for Z. So Code for Z is a pack of the extensions, different extensions for Visual Studio Code and also for Eclipse Share, which allow mainframe users to work with mainframe applications. When I mean users, I'm not really meaning especially the developers, but I mean also the sysadmins and the other users, because we saw that they are also using these components. These extensions can be installed individually, but when installing a pack, you can get all of them at once, so you don't need to do the single installation always. And in Visual Studio Code, you can easily, disable them if you don't want to use any of them, some of them. We need the Eclipse Share. Share is coming, what my colleague Lukáš will show you, with the predefined stacks. These predefined stacks are built from the Share plugins, what we call, but what Share plugin is really something what is also a Visual Studio Code extension. They are just naming it differently. So no worry about that. So when you're deploying the Share, you can find the mainframe basic stack along with the others predefined stack. And but as mentioned, you can also customize it for the needs of your project. So we have here ZOE Explorer, COBOL language support, high-level assembler, language support, debugger, what is working to debug the mainframe COBOL applications, and Endeavor Explorer for the Endeavor, who is allowing you to access the elements or the files who are secured and stored within the Endeavor in our case. As of now, we are working also on the other extensions to expand the Share family. These extensions are currently working on the Visual Studio Code, but we are working on that to make sure that they are also working on Eclipse Share and to become part of the Share stack. These are the extensions for the REX, language support, control flow for COBOL applications, and dataset viewer. REX language support is obviously providing the small editor capabilities for the REX program. It's same as COBOL high-level assembler or JCL. Control flow is showing the graphical representation of the COBOL statements relationship within the program, and dataset viewer is displaying the VSM files as Excel tables, so you can easily read them. So I will ask now my colleague Lukáš, Lukáš, your time, to show us what I was trying to a little bit explain and talk about.
Thank you, Dan. So let me share my screen if I'm able to
Do you want me to skip also to the overview slide, what you're going to show?
Oh yes, please. If you can show the slide before I start to share my screen. Correct. So, thank you once again, Dan, for the introduction. On my demo, I would like to show you how Code4Z works, and in more particular, those extensions that are part of the project. And I would like to show it on a real example, on the real scenario. So the flow that I would like to show is that you can check the content of the COBOL file, then you can submit some JCL that you need to start inter-test application. And finally, once you have the inter-test application running, you can use it for debugging. That's the target of this demo, to be able to debug the COBOL program. And in order to do that, I will introduce 3 different extensions of Code4Z. So I think it's time to go from the GIFs to my desktop. So I'll share my screen now. So just let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, thanks. So Dan already mentioned that the Eclipse Share IDE looks pretty similar to Visual Studio Code. So let me just start from there. If you would like to use Visual Studio Code, you can use it. This is how a Code4Z looks like there. You can see this is a tab from where you can easily install the Code4Z, and it's this package. And you can see if you don't use it for a while, like in this example, I have old versions here. We can see them. You can update it manually. You have this nice view, or you can just update the Code4Z and it will update everything for you. So this is just a quick introduction or demonstration how easy you can update or install Code4Z on your computer on Visual Studio Code. This is how does it look like in Visual Studio Code, right? But what I want to show is how does it work in Eclipse Share. So I can go to my browser. This is the browser that I'm using, and here in this tab I have my Eclipse Share running. So if you open it for the first time, you need to log in, obviously, to get into the welcome page, which looks like this. And at this point, you want to create a new workspace where you want to work with, right? So as you can see, there are default options. Let me just hide this guy. So you have plenty of options. You can choose and create a workspace according to your needs. If you are working with the PHP or Java or C++, whatever. In this particular case, we want to work with mainframe, right? So that's why I can select the mainframe basic stack. And once I click it, it will start to create the new workspace for me. It takes a few seconds or up to 1 or 2 minutes, so I'm not going to wait for it. I have another workspace already created that I created in advance. So I'll just switch to this one. And as you can see, all right, I can even have some others that you can turn on and turn off, up to you. How do you need it? And as you can see, the look is pretty similar to what you are used to from Visual Studio Code. I have the same tabs on the left side. I have pretty much similar selection on the menu on the top. So at that point, I would start with my demonstration of the use case. As you can see, this is an Explorer for the project. Excuse me. And I already have it predefined. When you use it for the first time, it should be completely empty. So how do you get your code there? There are several options. Probably the most useful one is to use GitHub, right? Because developers usually work with a Git repository. There is a way how you can synchronize your GitHub repository with the Endeavor. If you are the users of Endeavor, which is a source management tool on mainframe, there's a way how you can synchronize those two repositories together, which is not part of this demonstration. So I will start at this point where I already have my repository with my code that I want to debug and I want to work. This is a demo application called Slick Demo, Slick Oil Demo. And what does it do? It's a web application that looks like this. And if you provide identification of the customer and some other information, and you submit, you will eventually get just like kind of pop-up message saying some summary of what the customer want to buy on this through this kind of application. I just don't know why it doesn't finish though. Yeah, so now it finished the application and we have this pop-up message. So this is the application that I, as a developer in my demo, want to debug. So in order to do it, I will go to Eclipse Che again, to my IDE, and the easiest way how to get the code synchronized or download is to start to use standard Git commands like git clone, and I will just put this URL here. However, I'm not going to do it because I already have it, obviously, so I don't have to download it again. I can just refresh it because it's cloned already, so I'll just do the git fetch just to make sure that I have the latest version, and I can go from here through the folder structure to the program that I want to work with. That's actually this slick PD COBOL file. And when I open it, this is the time when our extension, the COBOL language support, which is part of the Code4Z, is taking effect already. So as you can see different colors of the different keywords and variables. So it will help you to navigate in the code and understand what's going on. You can see there is error check. So if there is like some syntax errors, you can see in my definition, for example, I can create some kind of error on the mind. If I do a typo, for example, it will help me to understand what's going wrong, and it can give you also some kind of notification what should be the correct syntax. So I can fix it as well. I can even recognize the content of the copybooks, which are actually part of my repository. So my copybooks are hidden as a part of the project in this subfolder. And this one particular is actually located on mainframe. So the system, if I provide the information where the copybook is, can automatically retrieve in the hidden subfolder somewhere right here under copybooks. And then I have the content of the copybook also available for the system. So I can read definition of variables, which helps that the syntax awareness is more precise. So there's only one thing that you can actually do in the settings for this language, for this extension, sorry. And it's right here. If you go to a Broadcom COBOL LSP section, you can see a copybook manager. And this is the place where you can provide information where your copybooks are located, either locally. So this is the relative path of the subfolder where all my copybooks are located. And I can put as many values as I want, or you can provide a dataset name and a profile for ZOSMF that will download it from mainframe. So that's pretty much for the settings that you can, or you don't have to if you don't want to, but you can provide to the system so that the system can read the content of the copybooks. Last function of this extension, the COBOL language support that I mentioned, is autocomplete. So when I start to type, oh, I was too fast, it will give you some kind of autocomplete options and helps you with your with COBOL statements, also with the variables. So it can really speed up the developers coding, because you can provide some kind of predefined structures. And also, he doesn't need to remember all those variables. He can just select one from the list. So that was just a quick introduction of the first extension for Code for Z. Sorry. And so if I continue with the flow, I would like to debug this code. So there is another extension, Debugger for mainframe, which is a connector to CA intertest debugging tool running on mainframe. So you can either debug it through mainframe, but we want to use the new IDE right here. So the debugger from mainframe is connecting through the testing tool server. So that's intertest testing tool that needs to be up and running. In this case, I can easily validate if the server is up and running on this welcome page, let's say, a landing page of the CA intertest. And as you can see, it's down. It's cannot be reached. So the first thing that I have to do is to go on mainframe and submit a JCL job that will turn on this server. How can I do it? Obviously, I can do it through the green screen, but I want to use IDE. So there is this ZOE Explorer, which is another extension that I would like to introduce during this demo, and is also the default part of Code for Z. ZOE Explorer is like an explorer for file operations on mainframe. So it allows you to go through your data sets, do basic operations such as copy, paste, allocate new data set, and submit jobs, for example. So I already have several profiles, 2 of them that I created in advance. You can create easily through the UI a new one if you want to, or you can still use a command line as well to communicate with ZOE CLIs that are actually installed by default on each Eclipse Share version as well. So I will use this profile that I already have. So if I click on this search button, I can create a filter. For example, this is my PMF key, and this way I can search for any COBOL word, COBOL dataset under my PMF key. So you can see that I can browse all the files, and I can copy, paste, delete. I can get some information about the datasets as well, etc., etc. I can also click the star, which will save this dataset into my favorites. So next time I don't need to search it again. It's remembered under these favorites. And as you can see, I already have this dataset stored here. And that's the dataset that I need for running the intertest. So I can submit this job, which is supposed to spin off the intertest server. This is the number of the job that I can see in the sysview, and I can reach the sysview actually here in the jobs tab. So as you can see, there is this job, yeah, 5020 activate. It's running in the moment. I can even see the details, and I can open up the messages exactly the same way as you are used to from the green screen. Just a little bit slow today. Why it doesn't show up? However, if I go to the server and I will click reload again, yeah, I can see that the CA intertest is now up and running. So everything should be prepared for my debugging now. So since I have everything prepared for the debugging, I can go to the Debug Console, which is this tab. And here I have to specify the connection settings for this intertest server that I just spun up. As you can see, I have plenty of other settings from the past. So you can update the one that if you don't need it anymore, or you can keep it, and eventually over the time it can grow. I have prepared the demo, which is this one, demo for Slick PD. I have the intertest host and port and my username and the application, the Kix region that I want to use. So in order to be able to set the breakpoints in the code, I need to first fetch the extended source from the intertest server. How can I do it? I will press F1 key, and it will pop up this command line, and here I can start to type. And what I want to type is fetch extended source. It also has some kind of auto complete, so I can select the first option, fetch extended source, and it will ask me which of those settings I want to use, obviously. So I will select the demo for Sleek PD. This is the one I'm interested in. Since there is the username already prepared, I need to just provide my mainframe password. I will type it in, and it should fetch the extended source from mainframe, from intertest server. So here goes. This is the extended source, and this is the place where I can finally start to place my breakpoints. So I will go to some location where I know that is interesting for me, which is somewhere, for example, here, this is actually the message, the last message that we see in the application once it's finished. So I probably want to put my breakpoint here, and I can also put my breakpoint somewhere here. I can do different kind of breakpoints. If you right click, you can edit the breakpoint, and you can select which breakpoint you want. There are three options. First, expressions. So you can specify some variable name. As I said, it's autocomplete, so you can select, for example, I don't know, which is nice. Field size is equal, and here we can specify some specific number. The syntax goes like, go like this. So if field size is equal to 1, it will stop here. Otherwise, it will ignore this breakpoint. I can also use hit count, which will stop on this line only if it's hidden more often. So for example, if I want to leave out the first 2 occurrences, I will write 3, and it will mean that only if this line is hit 3 times, it will stop there. And finally, the last option is a log message, and that's a custom message that I can write here. This is value of, and here I can provide some variable that I want to print out. Yeah, so I can leave this this breakpoint here as well. So at this moment, I have everything prepared for the debugging. So I just need to select again from a list of the specification from the LangJSON which settings I want to debug, and that's still this demo for Sleek PD. So I'll select it. I'll click on Run, and now the extension is trying to connect to the CA intertest server. So this blue bar on the bottom, which will turn orange when its connection is ready. So now it's listening. As you can see, it's orange. It's listening to the CA intertest server for any transaction, for this particular transaction. So I need to trigger the transaction, and I will just trigger it that I will submit this request again. So I submit the transaction, and eventually it should, I will go somewhere else, it should stop on the first breakpoint. So here I have the standard options for each debugging. You can use this UI to navigate. You can continue until I will hit another breakpoint, or you can step next, obviously, so it will bring you to the next statement. You can also see the variables itself. So here on the locals, you can go and expand the tree and see any variables you want. And you can even, this is, for example, this final message. So you can even update the message. So I can put there, for example, my name. So that. Let me continue with the flow. I'm not really sure if I'm going to hit those 2 breakpoints. Probably not. Sorry. So I've missed those. Anyway. Yeah, so the application is finished, and as you can see, this is my custom message that I changed during the debugging session. So I can see the updated message. So if I need to, for example, print out some variables, it's easy to do it. If I'm not mistaken, that's pretty much it from what I wanted to show. Dan, help me out if I forgot to mention something important.
I believe that you covered everything, Luki.
I realized that I have forgot to highlight one thing. So if you install Eclipse Share right now, what you see is default part. You don't have to install this Code4Z, any extension. It's there. It's default part of the selection. So if I go again to get started here, come on, then this mainframe stack is there by default, and we updated regularly. So the newer Eclipse Share version you install, the newer version of our extensions you will get. And that's pretty much it. Do you have any questions?
Well, thank you very much, Dejan and Lucas. I would now like to take any questions. If anyone has any questions, would they like to send them via the chat window?
I believe that I have just one slide to summarize.
Oh, sorry, Dejan, my apologies.
No problem, no problem. Just trying to share back the screen. Yeah, okay. Can you see the slides again?
Yep, that's fine. Thanks, Dan. I can see that now.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So just very quickly to summarize what we saw, and then we can skip to we can go to the questions. So Che is helping to keep focus on the task and not setting on and maintaining of the environment. Code and data are stored in secure data centers, not on your laptop. In these days, it's a perfect solution to work from home. You just need a browser to connect to. You can easily share your environment with your colleagues, so everybody on the team will have the same environment, and you can reduce the different behaviors due to the different environments. As mentioning earlier, Che is helping to reduce the time spent on onboarding of the new mates on the team or on the project. And you can create an environment for your specific needs and tasks, and later just delete it, or when you don't need it. Che is an open source, and it's available for everybody. So even now you can just go download Che, deploy it, and you can start to play with it. Same also for the Visual Studio Code. It's also open source, and Code4Z is there also free to use without any specific, without any subscription or anything like that. So I guess we wanted to thank you for your time. Feel free now to ask the questions or contact us via the email if you have more, or if you get any questions later, or if you are interested more into the topic.
Well, thank you very much again, Dejan and Lucas. I don't see any questions coming through. I'll give it another couple of minutes, but in the meantime, thank you very much indeed. I'd like to give you a solo round of applause because nobody else has a loudspeaker on, so nobody can be heard. But thank you very much. Don't forget, everyone, please, if you could submit your session feedback, as it says now on the screen. The session is 5AA. You can either do it online there, as it shows there, or you can scan that QR code in the bottom left-hand corner, or if in my GSE, there's a link off the bottom of the agenda item for this session. So I'll give it another minute or two to see if anybody's got any questions. Also, if anyone has any questions about general logistics that they'd like to ask, if you could just send those to me. I think you can do it via the host option in the chat window. Then I'll leave this session up for a couple of minutes, so you can do that as well if you want. Oh, I've got somebody in the waiting room. That's a bit late. Oh, they've gone away again. Well, it looks like there aren't any questions. Thanks again. I certainly enjoyed it. I hope everyone else did, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of the conference. So I'll say goodbye for now. I will end the meeting. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And you. Bye-bye all.
Bye.